Welcome to this short overview and demo of the Wales Virtual Hospital. The Wales Virtual Hospital is an immersive, health-focused education platform. We have been funded by the Accelerate programme in order to develop a cross-Wales platform for immersive health education that will be available to all Welsh HEIs, health boards and HEIW at no cost. At the heart of the development was the need for this to be an educator-focused platform. Educators and clinicians can use the platform to create scenarios themselves, individually or as part of a team, picking from preloaded healthcare environments or capturing and uploading new environments and scenarios. The platform is flexible to the needs of the educator and can be used in a variety of ways to support a wide range of learning activity and assessment designs. It can form the core part of an activity or be supplemental. It can be used in groups or as an individual, in person or remotely. When edits or updates are required to scenarios, they can be made by the educator directly on the platform rather than going back and forth with a third party. The platform is available at no cost across Wales, and scenarios can be undertaken by students on desktop or laptop computers, tablets, or VR headsets. Students and educators moving between different institutions, or with dual academic and clinical responsibilities, will be able to use a platform that they are familiar with, regardless of where they are currently based. The healthcare environments available within the platform are continually expanding as more spaces are captured. You can also capture new environments or video scenarios yourselves with training available from our team, or request that our team come and capture them for you. Scenarios you create can optionally be shared with other individuals or institutions on the platform, allowing for collaborative scenario creation or for minor changes to be made to an existing scenario to suit different uses, such as changing the difficulty level or the discipline focus. There are 3 main scenario types in the virtual hospital, but these can be used in a variety of ways to cover all sorts of different learning activities. We refer to the scenario types as the shift style scenario, the patient journey style scenario, and the immersive video scenario. I'll run through what each one of these is and show a demo too. The shift style scenario is an environment made up of 360 images with interactive hotspots and activities to complete. It is similar to a virtual tour in that you travel around multiple patients or multiple locations like you might on a shift on a ward. At each patient, there are hotspots with information to discover and activities to complete. Activities could be answering questions, history taking, making a treatment plan, reflecting on what you would do next, any sort of question that you would like to ask. These are set by the educator when they create this scenario. In a standard shift scenario, students would go and visit each patient and undertake the activities. For example, in this diagram, a student may start at a nurse's station, which has a hotspot on the computer and a list of patients showing all the relevant information about them, and they can then visit the patients in their beds, returning at any time to recheck the computer and the information. In advanced scenarios, events can occur based on progress or based on what a student has or hasn't done so far. For example, halfway through a shift, a patient who should have been prioritised and visited first, but wasn't, could start to deteriorate. The student would be alerted with this, and they'd be expected to go back and visit that patient immediately. This is an example of the shift scenario. So I start off at this central location here, and then I can move into the different bays, and I go and see this patient in bay 6. So around the room, we've got these different hotspots with different types of information on, and I would go and look at all of those, and for the patient history. And then once I'm ready, I click on paperwork, and this is where I get my activities here. So these activities have been put in by the person who created the scenario, and there's lots of space here to put more information about what you want the student to do in here. So in this particular activity, I'm going to put in my patient history that I've spoken to the patient about, and then I'm going to check my answer against the model answer of what I should have written down up here. So this is a very individual, reflective kind of activity. As I move on, I've then got the examination, the impression, and the plan that I can move along. Once I've run through all these activities, I can close this, and then I can continue on to go and look at another patient. The patient journey style scenario is similar to the shift scenario, but in a more linear fashion. Instead of visiting multiple patients, this scenario type follows the same patient to different locations on their patient journey. In each location, there are hotspots and activities to complete. This is particularly relevant for multidisciplinary team activities. This sort of scenario is also ideal for following the steps in a process flow, algorithm, or protocol, as the patient can stay in the same location across multiple steps, but each step could be about progression through the process. I haven't included an example of the patient journey here, because it's a very similar demo to the shift scenario, just in a more linear form. The immersive video scenarios are standalone scenarios based on 360 videos that put the student into a video scenario which pauses, asks them a question, allows them to choose an answer, receive feedback on that answer, and then continue the video to the next pause point. Pause points can be optionally timed with a countdown timer. These scenarios are available on computers and tablets, but also on VR headsets for fuller immersion. Here's a quick demo of the immersive video scenario. This has been captured from an Oculus Quest 2 VR headset. Some of the audio volumes have been adjusted for the demo. Okay, so I am in the immersive video scenario, and you see we've got these people over here playing basketball. This is the start of the scenario. I can turn around and look all the way around here. And then as this person goes outside, they come around. And this is the first stopping point here. So I've got a question at the top. I've got some options that I can choose with the handheld remote, and there's a countdown timer over here. So I'm going to choose the correct answer for this one.
That's right. Check for danger. Don't put yourself at risk. Remove any hazards.
And then when the scenario resumes, the next part of the video plays. They avoid the danger, come across. And this is an example of a question without a timer. So I've got a bit more time to think about this. And you can see these hotspots are around. And so I am going to do this.
That's right. Check if they are responding. Call their name and squeeze their shoulders.
So resume in 3, 2, 1.
They aren't responding. What are you going to do next?
So you can hear that the questions are read out as well, and this is something that you put in through the creator mode, which we'll talk about later. So have a look at what else I can do. So, right, let's have a look at an incorrect answer.
Not quite. Think about what you're going to need. Have another go.
So the feedback comes instantaneously as audio in this scenario, and then I can think about what I want to do, and this is, of course, being tracked in the background as well.
Not quite. Think about what you're going to need. Have another go.
So I'll mention data in a little bit. So I'm going to call the correct answer, and then the scenario resume again, and so on and so on. And this goes through, and then the ambulance arrives eventually as you get through. These scenarios also work on lower budget headsets, and also the sort of headsets where you slot a phone into them. These headsets generally don't come with a controller, so the scenario will use where you are looking to select answers. Here's a quick example of this.
That's right.
In all scenario types, in the background, the platform is constantly recording the student's activity. This can be made available directly to the student or used by the educator to provide feedback at a later time. Educators can view aggregated data, covering all students who took a scenario in order to reflect on the entire cohort or to reflect on the scenario itself. If a scenario has been created that needs marks attached, each step in the activity can be assigned marks and weighted individually. Students can download their marks to submit to portfolios or to evidence their completion. Here's a quick example of some of the data that you can see from one of our video scenarios. So you can see that we've got the student number over here, we've got what answer they gave to what question, at what time, what they did, and then how many marks they got from there, whether it was a critical question or not. And you can see on here they did check for a pulse on the start CPR question, and you can see that they lost 2 marks there. And then as we go down, you can see all the other students that took part as well. You can sort by data, you can search for an individual student, and then you can see there's some averages at the top here. You can also see the eye tracking data mapped out on here from that student as they looked around the scene. And you can see how this changes over time. You can see where they were looking. So you can sort this by the different students that have taken part in the scenario and see just the results for them as well. This is an early example of the sort of data that is being captured. It's very much up to partners on the project and people who are using the system to really shape the way that this data is displayed so that we can have data that's really useful for us. Virtual hospital scenarios are created by educators using creator mode. You can pick from existing healthcare environments or upload new ones. For example, if you were building a patient journey and all the environments you needed were already in the system, You would just pick the ones you want, put them in order, then add the hotspots and activities to each one. If you were building a 6-bed ward for a shift scenario, you would choose a centre point, such as the nurse's station, and then pick 6 beds. Add the patients, the hotspots, and the activities. If you were building an immersive video scenario you had captured yourself, or we had captured for you, you add that to the system, skip through the video to where you want to pause, and then add the questions, answers, and feedback, then skip to the next pause point, and so on. To make the scenario design as flexible as possible, we have ensured that most options in creator mode are optional and can be switched on and off dependent on how you want to design the scenario. This can be adjusted for different parts of a scenario too. For example, one decision might need to be timed, and one might not, so they can have different options at a very granular level. This will be the case with new features added in the future too. Scenarios can be created bilingually, and this will allow the student to choose from the languages available when they take the scenario. Here's an example of the editor in creator mode for a video scenario like the one that I showed you just now. So across the top, we've got all these different scenes. So we've got the checking for danger question, we've got the response question, and you can switch between them here. You can see that we've got the hotspots on the left-hand side at the bottom. And as you click through, you can see the scene moves forward and the hotspots are all different in each one. So if I go back to the danger one, you can see I've got these hotspots that I've put in around here. I can look at which one is correct and I can edit each individual one. So if I call an ambulance, the feedback is here. So if I wanted to change what the feedback was, I can change it from this option, this list of options here. I can add video feedback. I can change the hotspot to be image and text. I can check out the question stem. So this is where they ask you this bit at the top here. And then I can set some of the times that I've got, the time limits. If this is a critical question, so like a yellow flag question that you shouldn't get wrong, set if it's marked, and then how many marks you get for getting it right and how many marks you lose if you click on the wrong answer before you click on the right answer. We've got the question text up here as well. If I move on to the next one, we can see that now we're on the check if responsive, so the video has moved along. I've got my different hotspots, and again, I've got all the options that I want on here. If I want to add a new scene, I move the video along, I move the video to where I want to be, and then click new scene. And now you can see I've put a new scene in between the response and the shout. I give it a name. And then I can set these options here. I can start adding question hotspots. So if I want the hotspot to be over here, there we go, there's the new hotspot. We'll give it a title. I'll choose what sort of feedback I want on there, or I can record my own feedback as well. And then I can add more hotspots around the scene as we go. So I've added a second hotspot over here, and then I continue adding them onto this list until I've got all the hotspots that I want on here. And this is very similar to how you would create a shift scenario and how you would create a patient journey scenario as well in terms of adding the hotspots. In terms of support, supporting people to use the platform will be done by the team at Cardiff University in the form of training, support resources, and workshops. Over time, we would expect to upskill digital education, learning technology, or IT teams, whichever is appropriate, at different institutions to ensure that there is local knowledge too. We will also be able to provide some equipment loans to institutions who have been trained so that you can capture different environments if you'd rather do it yourselves. If you're looking to purchase your own equipment rather than loan it, we have a specification of equipment available. Technical support will be provided by Virtus Tech via email and in-platform issue reporting. Virtus Tech will also handle security updates and long-term support for the platform. Finally, a couple of points on where we're going next. The virtual hospital will integrate with major VLE, LMS and learning platforms, so there isn't a need for students to have extra login IDs. A number of UI updates to modernise the interface are planned. The development of a patient demographics function, so depending on the demographic you choose for a patient, their appearance will be updated in the hospital. The development of a VR avatar style scenario, where multiple users will be able to interact in a 3D mapped hospital space. A yellow card option on decisions in video scenarios to flag up when students made dangerous decisions. And the ability to perform real-time scenario updates where parts of the scenario can be controlled by the educator whilst the student is taking part. To gather case studies, look at issues and prioritise future developments, we'll be forming a Welsh user group towards the end of the project. This video is designed to supplement further discussions. If you have any questions at all about the virtual hospital, please get in touch.